there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another day of Kit Conspiracy. Today's layout is a double page, but it's going to be a bit on the simpler side, mostly because I'm not telling a big story or anything. This is something that we did every month for many years. We were archery leaders for our local 4-H project, actually for our entire county. My husband and I did archery training for the kids. And my kids were involved. My daughter was a teen leader. My son was a junior leader. He was just not of the age that he could officially be a teen leader. My niece was a teen leader. And then we had several other kids that were teen leaders just because we ended up having like 30 or 40 kids in our project. So I am just kind of documenting that. And I don't have a lot of their pictures of the kids where you can actually see who they are, except for my niece and my daughter. And I think there's one of my son in there. So anyway, I decided to use the two pieces of wood grain that you see there as the background. I thought they went really well with the photos because there is so much greenery and then the brown dirt on the ground. So it works really well. And I found this cut file. I have a binder that's full of cut files. I'm not exactly sure where this one came from. If I can find the name of it, I will put it down below for you. But it was all one cut file and I cut it apart. And so I am going to back that with a different color. But first I'm going to add some papers to the outer edges of this. I'm using the green paper that was in my kit. That is kind of like a distressed green. It's not... It's from my mind's eye, but it's really old. So it's not anything super fancy, just kind of a distressed green in that same shade that I am working with. And then I kind of decided that I needed something else to kind of darken it up a little bit. So I'm going to pull in this charred looking wood grain. And I think that kind of gives more depth and more interest. So I went ahead and ripped a piece of that off, and the opposite side I am going to use on the opposite page, but rather than cutting or ripping it again, I decided just to use my scissors and follow the tear line and cut the white edge off because I don't want that edge there. And I learned that little trick from MK. Speaking of MK, go and check out what she is doing on her channel this week with her Kit Conspiracy kit. I'm curious to see, this kit is right up her alley. It's got lots of the things that she loves in it. So not that I don't love them, but it's definitely her style. So go and check out what she's got going on. Her link is down below in my description box. If you are not familiar with Kit Conspiracy, what it is MK and I chose the exact same pattern papers for our kits for each week for the month of April. We are allowed to pull in colored cardstock or whatever cardstock we want, as well as pieces from our scrap bin and embellishments. But the patterned paper is all the same. So it's really interesting to see what we are doing differently or the same each day. So again, her link is down below if you're interested in that. I also don't know that I mentioned in my kit share that the papers that we are using this week, for the most part, they are still available through scrapbook.com. They may be available at other sites as well, but I know scrapbook.com has the Paper Rose Mountain Trek and the Paper Rose Textures 1.2. So if that's something that you're interested in, there is a link down below if you want to go and check that out. You can click on that link. It is an affiliate link, as it was mentioned in the beginning on the little ticker that went across the screen. If you use my affiliate link, you are giving me a little bit of commission, or I get a little bit of income off of that. It's not a whole lot, but it does certainly help out. Every little bit helps. So I appreciate it if you do use that link, and if you choose not to, that's okay too. There would be no hard feelings at all. So I decided to go ahead and back my arrows with the same wood grain paper, and I'm showing you there just on a couple of them how I do it. I don't make you sit through watching all of it because it is a little bit time consuming. Since this paper is dark and it is glossy, it's a little bit hard to go ahead and make a pencil mark on it so that I can actually see it. So what I did was I put a little bit of glue on the inside, the most inside portion of the arrow, stuck it down on the paper, let it dry a little bit, and then cut around it. And when I say I put it on the inside of the arrow, that white line, I'm trying to lean towards the inside of the arrow versus the outside, so that my scissors can kind of cut underneath the arrow, so that none of that dark color is sticking out. I then decided I needed to bring in something to lighten it up. So first of all, I brought in that dark wood grain to darken it up, and now I want to bring in something to lighten it up. But I don't know, I just think it brings in some extra texture and some extra color. I don't want this to be just a monochromatic layout, so I thought I'll bring in some yellow, because there's definitely like yellow moss growing on those boards. I'm guessing it's moss, maybe it's lichen. Anyway, so I pulled in the yellow paper from the kit, and that is just another basic any yellow paper that is a bit distressed would work for this kit. I think MK's is a slight bit lighter than mine. It's not quite as bold, but that's okay. The rest of the papers, like the pattern papers, are all the same. So I'm going to go ahead and just peel that down so that it has kind of the same angle as the other papers, and then I'm going to tuck it under. I am inking everything up with my walnut stain distress ink. That is my favorite wood brown color distress ink. I feel like a lot of people use vintage photo, which is okay, but to me it feels more orange, and I just like the color of the walnut stain. Now, I don't leave my walnut stain super juicy, so it doesn't have a lot of ink coming out on the pad. So it's not really, really dark, but I really like the way that it looks. Now, since the cut file has the white edges all the way around it, I decided to go ahead and mat my photos in white. Usually I mat in white anyway, but there was the thought that I could do it in black since it's got that charred wood, but then it would darken things up again, and in order to make them pop, I decided to go ahead and go with the white and make it match the cut files. Now, since I only had a portion of this cut file, I don't even actually know if it was a portion, it may have come as just a smaller piece, but I decided to cut it up so that it could span the 2 pages. And I really like the arrows because everybody is on the shooting line on the left-hand page, and on the right-hand page, it's actually the targets, and then a picture of my niece making like a strongman type pose, showing me muscles, basically, being goofy. And so I thought that worked out really well with the arrows indicating that movement across the page. And I do use a lot of arrows on my archery pages just because they go so well with it. And I think it just is like the perfect embellishment for archery, since you used arrows in archery as well. So then I'm going to work on my title. I pulled out my dies that have, I have a die binder that has all of my large alphas, and I have a die binder that has all my like 1 inch and smaller alphas. And so these are definitely on the larger side. The ones that say archery there, I believe, are from Paper Rose as well. It's their jumbo die set. I will put a link to that down below as well for you. And then the tall, skinny ones at the bottom, those are from Tim Holtz. And I will put a link down there for those also. I do recognize that it's a little bit hard to read where it says project meeting at the bottom. You can read it in real life. The word meeting doesn't get quite as lost as it looks like it gets lost in the actual video. And I think that's because there's actually texture to it, because these are all on foam. So I use my Fun Foam from Walmart. It is adhesive backed, and I stick my pattern paper on the adhesive side of the Fun Foam. And then I put my die on top of that pattern paper and run it through my little Sidekick. And there will be links to the Sidekick as well down below, in case that is something that you are interested in. It is one of my most used tools that is not like my scissors and trimmer and adhesive tape gun. So it is like hugely helpful to have because it's so small, light, and portable. and it just fits the dies for this perfectly. In fact, the little opening in the Sidekick perfectly fits the height of the word archery. So those dies fit great. Anything smaller fits great also. I didn't want it to sound like you couldn't put smaller things in there. Now I'm using my acrylic block there on top of the letters just to kind of hold them in place while I adhere the rest of them. Sometimes when you use your liquid glue to adhere it to the paper, which is what you have to do unless you're going to run it through like a Xyron or something like that. But these little thin letters, the liquid glue is really the way to go, at least in my opinion. Sometimes the letters like to kind of like curl up a little bit and not actually stay flat. So just putting a little bit of weight on top of them really helps that out. And so my acrylic block is perfect for that. It also is perfect since this is a video, you can see through it and you can still see what is on the page. It's not blocking your view. So I find it really helpful. So this piece of yellow paper, I stuck that in my silhouette machine, and I stuck a Sharpie in there in the tool, the pen tool. It's like an adapter that you can put pretty much most pens in. And I just had it write out the 5 rules of archery that we always taught for the kids. And I'm sure you could come up with a whole lot more archery related rules, but these cover pretty much every circumstance. So they're pretty broad, like be safe. I mean, I don't really have to spell out like don't point your arrow at other people, you know, type of thing. So they're pretty broad, but they are the 5 basic rules that we always taught the kids when we were teaching archery. And then I'm just going to do my journaling with my black Muji pen, and I'm going to call it done. I'm not adding a whole lot more. I did add an arrow for the horizontal line in the H, and I thought that looked cute because it is the center of the word, and the H or the arrow is the perfect colors. So I thought that was kind of fun. But other than that, I didn't add a whole lot more, and I think it looks great, or at least good enough to go in my album. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you soon with another video.